you were asking about support bands for the up-and-coming concert in Auckland, or support bands generally, or whether we should have auditions for a support band, but I think we'll just fall back on the Darwinian survival of the fittest rule. Whoever lands on the stage and by hook or by crook manipulates the situation to their advantage, it's probably best left like this really in the end, isn't it, don't you think?
But don't you think it would be something that you want to have a bit more of an artistic input
Let me
on?
tell you something. Normally, support bands in Killing Joke's career have been set up. It's like the rear gunner position. I mean, I can think of some bands. I mean, they just were the wrong bands to support Killing Joke, and we used to deliberately pick some of these bands, and they would get gobbed on and just as absolutely pelted, and the worse it was, the better it was. Other times, youth used to just get in front of the mixing desk and pull the faders down if you didn't like the band, turn some reggae music up. So I don't know whether it's such a good thing supporting Killing Joke anyway. And for me,
because there's a famous the famous situation where you're on tour, co-headlining with the Cult.
Oh, the Cult, yeah. Well, that didn't happen, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that didn't happen. I'm not a great fan of the Cult, to put it mildly. I don't know how they got associated with anything remotely punk or post-punk even, because it's just LA rock.
Yeah, they went in that direction.
And I don't find any substance in their music. And here's the thing, my point was that, we'd have ended up being the second support band at a venue that we'd headlined and sold out like 8 months earlier. And what the hell was the point of that? Plus, it's hard to have respect for a band that charges their fans, a few $100 for meet and greets. This sucks. The Killing Joke's got an open dressing room policy. You wouldn't dare steal from us, we'd throw you out the window, So it wasn't the right package. We can just leave it like that, My aspirations with New Zealand, there's so many things I must do, my commitment to Māori music, and then the need to encourage as many people to be in bands as possible, even you. Like, when I started music, everyone was in a band.
Yeah,
and it's this whole thing about
yeah.
participating and being part of something that you do collectively that's just really good for your community, for your society, for yourself, and about your creative individuality, making this statement. I think it's really important, and so I'd like to go through New Zealand, town by town, city by city, and try and get as many people to form bands, and I'd help them put them together in what I call the Big Thrash Masterclass, which I'd like to do, because what we have to do in the music industry here in New Zealand is we need to encourage another generation of 20 bands in every city in order to have a bumper harvest down the line, if you know what I mean, with a renaissance with Kiwi music. It's wide open what New Zealand music is. One thing is for certain that New Zealand's had to learn the hard way, is that when you emulate American or British bands for that matter, it doesn't do you any good. When you stick to your own identity and you define what it is, whatever that is, to be a New Zealand sound, then things seem to work really well. And this is one thing, if you look back at New Zealand music, I think that it's learned, Yeah. When we did Oceania, Hini and myself, I mean, it's probably the biggest selling Māori recording, I would give a guess. And yet, and yet they didn't even consider it New Zealand music. It wasn't even shortlisted at the music awards here in New Zealand, and this is very divisive. This kind of outlook with Māori and Māori music, and will end up encouraging Māori to have their own music awards, which makes me remember Charlie Tūmahai, because Charlie Tūmahai, I met him when I was 15 and he was in Bebop Deluxe, and then I met him later when I moved to New Zealand, and he used to turn up at the music awards and heckle and shout at Terence O'Neill, Joyce, and raging about parking hours and what have you. But every year he'd turn up and have a few and then start heckling. I used to so look forward to it, really. But we don't really. It's a sad day when Māori has to have its own music awards in a funny way, and what that means is New Zealand's music awards haven't really extended beyond the ghetto category, which is what Charlie used to call it. That's right, he used to call it the ghetto category. Things haven't really evolved much, you know. And when I consider that since Oceania and the work with Hini and Emma Paki for that matter, there's only been Tiki Tane that's really in a strict way embraced a contemporary Māori idea. And so there's a lot of work to be done. I mean, you know, like the whole idea of hardcore haka stomps, you know, New Zealand grooves, these kind of rhythmic workshops haven't been done yet and really been explored yet, and it's such an exciting area to explore with drums or two drummers, for example, or in a studio with samples, to just start exploring this area. And New Zealand has to branch out with its arts and embrace its own identity and free itself from its kind of past, you know, of being influenced by the imperial bands of United Kingdom and the States, and find its own path. And a lot of that comes from the influence of the Pacific and Māori especially. Hi, well, I'm looking forward to coming in June, because hopefully we have survived North Korea's aggressive posturing, and then on the 13th, of course, we'll play here. But the day before, on the 12th, I think we're going to play the Killing Joke movie and have the premiere here. So it's really exciting, and I'm really proud of that. So it should be a bumper time, and then the day after that, we're all going fishing. So there's a lot to look forward to, and I look forward to seeing everybody here in postscript. Just to let you know that, and this is most appropriate, that after the Killing Joke show we'll be having an after show party at the Golden Dawn, and of course at the Golden Dawn they do the best cheese on toast. And I'll be off the Gollum diet then, so I will be ordering cheese on toast at the after show party at the Golden Dawn to celebrate cheese on toast.
That's awesome.